All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, or good afternoon or good evening, depending on if you're watching this live or watching it on the replay. My name's CJ. We're going to be taking a look at today's prize picks board, looking at some NBA player props, points, rebounds, assists. We'll mix them all together. PRA. We'll look at some free throw makes, 3-point makes, fantasy score, whatever you guys want to look at, we'll look at. Okay. I'm going to help you with your player prop research. I'm the only one out there that's doing this sort of thing, who's literally taking you by the hand, walking you through today's NBA player props, okay? So appreciate you joining me. Make sure that you are subscribed. Hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, ding-a-ling-a-ling. Make sure that notifications are turned on. I go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, doing this very thing, looking at player props, doing the research together with you in real time. So let's get it, gang. Let's get down to business here. We got a nice, healthy NBA slate today. Plenty of games, plenty of props to look at. We're going to start off by hitting up the chat, see what you guys are talking about here. We got my man D Graves in here saying, good morning, Rise and Grind fam. Let's go. Good to see you back here again. Leroy's in the building. He says that his picks went 8 for 2. 8 hits and 2 misses. Love to see that. Keep up the continued success, Leroy. Leroy's in our Discord. If you want to join the Discord, there's a link to the Discord down in the description below. Trevor's in the building. He says, good morning. Good morning to you as well, Trevor. Hunter is here. He says, good morning, fellas. Great night last night. Yeah, we had some pretty solid picks come through. Both of the NBA tacos ended up being a success. Wendell Carter Jr. hit the over on 7.5 rebounds, as did Nikola Jokic. Hit the over on his rebounds as well. Anytime those NBA tacos end up coming through, it's typically a better night, right? Todd, Live for Sunday says, hey CJ, I'm finally here for a live show. Great night for me after watching the replay. Thank you. Let's do it again, everyone. Yeah, I changed the format of yesterday's show up just a little bit. Instead of waiting to take your questions toward the very end, I was kind of taking them in the flow of the show, and I think I want to do that again today. We'll take your questions and try to make it more about you guys and take as many of your player prop inquiries as possible, and I'll help you guys do the research on those. King Chris is in the building, another one of our Patreon members. He says, good morning. Good morning back to you. Drew Breeze, another one of our Patreon gang members. That doesn't sound right. He's not a gang member, but I mean, we got a Patreon gang going, a community going. So shout out to you, Mr. Breeze. Thanks for being here. Travis A is in the building. What's up? Taco was good yesterday. Love to hear that. Desmond, let's get it. Shout out to the entire community. Yeah, Desmond's always putting out some solid picks inside of Discord. Another one of our Patreon members, community members. Love it, man. I love it. Ty's in the building. Ty says, what's up, guys? Our boy Wendell Carter Jr. had terrible customer service, complained to the manager because it was looking like he wasn't going to get our taco brought to the table. Yeah, Wendell Carter Jr. ended up being all right, okay? He did just fine. Wendell Carter Jr. came through late, finding that 8th rebound into the fourth quarter. Took 4 quarters, but he got it done. And my Magic ended up coming out with a dub against the Golden State Warriors. So shout out to the Magic. You know, I want us to lose some games because I want one of the top draft picks. But when you knock off a team like Golden State, yeah, I know they didn't have Steph Curry, but when you knock off a team like Golden State, it's quite an accomplishment. So shout out to the young Orlando Magic boys for pulling it out. Speaking of boys, that Hunt Boy 92 says, good morning, fam. Big slate today. Let's get it. You know we will. You know we will. King United says, what a day yesterday. Made the most ever thanks to Wendell Carter Jr.'s taco. Love to hear that. Everyday Fantasy, good morning to Chef CJ. That's moi. The Patreon gang. That's you guys. Well, most of you guys. And the live stream. Big ups to the low name Covington last night. I'm not sure what that means, but I think Robert Covington was one of Everyday Fantasy's favorite plays. I think he had Robert Covington going over 20 fantasy points, and he ended up coming through. Aaron Rodgers says, big day yesterday. Good to hear that. Love to see people winning. Ronald's Green, what's up? Mark H is in the building, fellow Floridian. Good morning, everyone. Good luck today. You flex, I flex back, man. Good to see you. Who else we got in here? We got Kevin in the building. That taco was a sweat for no reason. No more rebound tacos, please. Well, we knew Golden State was going to be kind of a tough team. Looney and Draymond, and I don't think any of us saw Otto Porter Jr. having as many rebounds as he did last night. Otto Porter Jr. got on the boards for sure. Duncan says, great day yesterday. Hope y'all had one too. Jeremy Lanoy says, yeah, well, look for him against OKC tonight. Okay. We might run it back with some Wendell Carter Jr. Is that what you're saying? Are they playing OKC? We'll have to take a look at that. Chris Smith says, good morning. Won $300 in League of Legends. Shout out to you. Ari, good morning to you. Some nice tacos yesterday. I did take the Rocket League taco. Why not? I never played any Rocket League. It looked like a pretty hefty discount. I went ahead and ran that Rocket League taco. So yeah, I took it. We'll see what happens with that. Nick's Rashad for Life says, I'm here today. Almost won 500 last night. Evan Fournier messed up his bag. Yeah, it looked like it was RJ Barrett, then Alec Burks, and then Evan Fournier was the guy who was kind of left out in the cold as far as scoring goes. Travis Knott says, let's get some more money today. I love that energy. Love that message. Lewis wants to know, who are you pairing with this discounted prop? Well, that's a good question. I paired my my Rocket League prop with some MMA props provided by one of our community members. Shout out to DFS JR for the MMA picks. Tony Ruiz says, good morning, good night. Overall, both tacos were good. Patreon as a group was successful. Love to hear that. Hit that like button. Thank you so much for reminding the good folks to hit the like button. That's how we grow. That's how we get the message out. That's how we can help more people, by smashing the like button and pumping up that YouTube algorithm. Matthew W says, what's up? What's up back to you, Mr. Matthew W. Zach's in the building. Good morning, everyone. Haven't been on the live in a bit. It's been hitting the replay button for the last few weeks. Let's get it tonight. Well, welcome back, Zach. Welcome back to the live stream. It's good to have you. Hopefully you can stick around, throw out a couple of your favorite picks and props, and I can walk you through those. Nick Sarau, good morning to you. Kyle, good morning to you. Patreon was funny last night in Windy. I hear you. D Graves says, join Patreon gang. Ready to raise the bar? I know what you mean. Days says, day 3 watching. Good morning to you, Days, as well. Appreciate you being here, my friend. Michael Moison's in the building. Alex, shout out to you. The Monty Morris assists were scary. Yeah, Monty Morris ended up coming through clutch, though. We ain't too worried about that. Aaron Rodgers says, breaking NFL news, Tyreek Hill has been given permission to seek a trade. Well, that's weird. What, is he getting in his feelings because they brought Juju Smith-Schuster in? I don't know. What's up with that? Tyreek Hill wanting to get traded. Interesting. All right, y'all. If there's anybody I missed, I apologize. But shout out to you guys. It's never anything personal. A lot of folks up in here. I can't say hello to everybody, but smash the like button if you're ready to get started and talk about some player props. Let's go ahead and run through tonight's slate. Like I said, we've got a pretty healthy amount of games to discuss, and we'll take your favorite props as we run through the different categories, points, and then assists, and rebounds, and so on. So definitely, start warming up your favorite props to throw my way, and we'll see if we can knock them out of the park and do some research together. Starting off tonight's NBA slate, we've got the Atlanta Hawks at the Detroit Pistons. This one tips off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. 228 points between these two teams, a 5.5 point spread. We've got Mays and Williams for Atlanta. Game time decisions. John Collins ruled out. So this is a back-to-back for Atlanta. I took Clint Capella over PRA against the Knicks. That was a bad idea. Clint Capella, I don't know what he was doing. I think he was standing around watching Trae Young get big-time buckets in Madison Square Garden. So Clint Capella did not get the over on his PRA, even though it looked like he should have. It looked like he definitely should have. On the flip side of this game, we've got Livers as a game-time decision, or Livers, I don't know how you say it. Diallo, Jackson, and Smith already ruled out for Detroit. So pretty decent total. Game looks like it's going to stay somewhat close and competitive. The next game, also tipping off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the New York Knicks at the Charlotte Hornets, 226.5 points with a 7-point spread. Keep an eye on Julius Randle. He did not play last night. He is a game-time decision as of this morning. Nerlens Noel, Cam Reddish, Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker already ruled out for the New York Knicks. For the Charlotte Hornets, the only guy that's out is Gordon Hayward, who has been out. Nothing new there, right? Gordon Hayward's still out for Charlotte. 7 p.m. Sacramento at Indiana, 234.5 points. Now, I would say this would be a revenge game for Domantas Sabonis going up against his former team, the Indiana Pacers, but poor Domantas Sabonis is injured. He will not be out there tonight. But Could be interesting if De'Aaron Fox ends up playing for Sacramento. A little bit of De'Aaron Fox versus Tyrese Halliburton. So we could say a revenge game for Tyrese Halliburton perhaps. Maybe he looks to stick it to the Sacramento Kings. Might still have a bone to pick with the Kings for trading him away. I don't think he was very happy about being traded to Indiana. Nonetheless, keep an eye on Fox, Halliburton, Duarte, Jackson, all game time decisions. Those guys, if they end up sitting out, especially Halliburton and Fox, it would be a bad thing. It would definitely shake things up. But love the total on this game at 234.5 and the spread at 6. Not so bad. Hopefully it stays competitive. Blowouts. We don't want blowouts. Brooklyn at Memphis, 7:30 p.m. This should be a fun game. 239 points between these two teams. Super sky-high total with just a 2-point spread. This is what I like to call high and tight. High total, tight spread. Goran Dragic, Seth Curry for Brooklyn, both game-time decisions. Ben Simmons, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Joe Harris already ruled out. Sounds like Ben Simmons is dealing with a herniated disc in his back. That's never a good thing. When you trade for a guy and he's already dealing with a herniated disc in his back. No bueno. No bueno at all. Over on the Memphis side, no Ja Morant tonight. He is out, so it'll be Tyus Jones filling in for him. But yeah, this game, from the looks of things, should stay close, competitive, and be high scoring. 7:30, Utah at Boston, 218 points. 4.5-point spread between these two teams. We got House Jr. Azubuike, or Azubuike. I don't know how you say it. Bogdanovich, all out for the Utah Jazz. So Bogdanovich is probably going to be the biggest one. In his place will be Juan Hernan-Gomez, starting at the forward spot alongside of Royce O'Neal. Boston, not dealing with any injuries. They're 100% healthy right now, so good for them. Kind of a lower scoring game, though, but hopefully it stays close. 7:30 p.m. Golden State at Miami, 211. Speaking of low totals, this one's pretty low. 7-point spread. Keep an eye on Draymond Green, Gary Payton II. Those guys are both game time decisions for Golden State. Of course, Steph Curry is out. He's going to miss some time, so Jordan Poole will continue to fill in for Steph Curry. Had himself a good night last night against my Orlando Magic. Ended up hitting both his points and PRA props. So if you played some Jordan Poole props, you're probably a happy camper today. Over on the Miami side, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, Martin, Oladipo, all of those guys, game time decisions. So Miami, got some pending injury news here. Gabe Vincent already ruled out for the Heat. Scrolling down here, 8 o'clock, Phoenix at Minnesota, 236.5 points between these two teams. Very nice total there. 1.5-point spread. That's encouraging. Hopefully it stays close. Cam Johnson, Chris Paul already out for Phoenix, but it sounds like Chris Paul might be coming back here soon. Kaminsky, Saric still out for Phoenix as well. Over on the Minnesota side, keep an eye on their big man, Karl Anthony Towns. If he is out, well, things could get kind of ugly here. I could see Phoenix definitely pulling away with this one if no Karl Anthony Towns tonight. McDaniels and Wright already ruled out for the Timberwolves. 8 p.m., the Orlando Magic at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, maybe we do go back to Wendell Carter Jr. if he plays. Because right now he is a game-time decision. The last time he took on the Oklahoma City Thunder, though, he absolutely dominated and destroyed them. Ended up going for a career-high 30 points against OKC. That was just a few nights ago, 2 games back. Gary Harris, also a game-time decision for Orlando. Listen, Orlando's going to be thin in their backcourt. No Markelle Fultz, no Jalen Suggs tonight, so that means probably more usage, more minutes for the likes of Cole Anthony and RJ Hampton. And then you'll probably see some guys coming off the bench that you've never heard of before. Okay? That's the situation in Orlando right now. Over on the Oklahoma City Thunder side, though, SGA, a game-time decision. Sarr, not really sure who Sarr is. Sorry, Mr. Sarr. But he's also a game-time decision. A lot of guys already ruled out for OKC. They've been dealing with a ton of different injuries over there. So 219 points, 2.5-point spread. Not a bad setup here for that game. 8:30 p.m. Houston Rockets at the Dallas Mavericks. 222.5 points with a 10-point spread. So this game, pretty decent total, but the spread is a little bit worrisome. It's definitely in blowout territory, so be careful taking any overs on full game props in a game like this where the game script suggests it could turn into a blowout. Be careful with that. Bertans, Doncic, Pinson, and Tim Hardaway Jr. all out for Dallas. Obviously, I don't have to tell you, Luka Doncic being out is going to be very impactful to the Dallas Mavericks. That will probably boost things up for the likes of Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, and Dorian Finney-Smith Jr., and maybe a little bit of Reggie Bullock too. So, no Luka tonight. 10 p.m., Philadelphia 76ers at the Los Angeles Lakers. We got Joel Embiid visiting LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. James Harden is playing. Sorry, I thought James Harden was out. James Harden and Joel Embiid, no disrespect, James Harden, travel to LA to take on LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. 230 points on the board between these two teams with an 8-point spread. Not too shabby. The Lakers have been getting blown out a lot lately, though. So, there's always a chance of that, always the risk of that happening. But keep an eye on LeBron. He's a game-time decision, as is THT, Talen Horton-Tucker. No Anthony Davis for this one, unfortunately. So keeping it moving here. The last game we've got up on the board is the San Antonio Spurs, Portland Trail Blazers. Portland, not a very good team. San Antonio, not a very good team. But for prop purposes, this could be a good game. 232 points between these two squads. A 9-point spread in favor of the visiting team here, the San Antonio Spurs. No Lonnie Walker. No Doug McDermott, no Romeo Langford for San Antonio. And then for Portland, they've got their long list of injuries. Josh Hart, he's not going to be playing tonight. Other than him, pretty much the same group of guys here. We got Brandon Williams, Justice Winslow, CJ Ellaby, Trendon Watford, and Drew Eubanks. A little bit of a revenge game for Drew Eubanks going up against the Spurs and Jakob Poeltl. We'll see what he has to offer. But that's it, guys. That is the NBA slate in a nutshell. That's what we have to look forward to. Obviously, as always, we got to stay on top of the injury news because there is some pending injury news out there that is going to shake things up. Appreciate everybody who's just now getting here. Listen, you guys start giving me some of your favorite point props. I'll start looking into them for you. While you go ahead and get to that, let's go ahead and get signed into props.cash. Yes, props.cash is how we're going to be doing our player prop research. So let's go ahead and get signed in here to props.cash. They changed their website up a little bit. See if I can figure this out here. See if I can navigate. When you hit start research and it ain't doing nothing here. Let me see what's going on. Normally there is a button that says subscribe now or something. Ooh, this is... What happens if I click that? Awkward. Okay. Well, unless you guys know of a better way to get into the site. I mean, I'm trying to log in here. Let's go down here and do start your free trial. Maybe this will get me in. There we go. Okay. They changed some things up here. Let's start our free trial. There we go. We're getting signed in now. Man, they switched things around. I got a little confused, a little confruzzled, but we're good to go now. All right, so we got our NBA player props trends page pulled up here on props.cash as their site is undergoing maintenance, a facelift on the homepage. Forgive me. First time I saw that page. But we're going to look at the player prop trends. We're going to look at the last 10 games, see who's been hitting the overs on their points props over the last 10 games. So some of the names that are sticking out while you guys are loading up your favorite props to give me, I'll research those for you right now. Starting off with points. Got Jalen Green at 15.5 points against the Dallas Mavericks tonight. We talked about Dallas not having Luka Doncic. Maybe Jalen Green finds himself in an easier matchup. But at 15.5 points, 80% hit rate over the last 10 games. Jason Tatum, another guy who's been hitting his 29.5 point prop at an 80% hit rate. We got Jay Crowder, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, 3 Phoenix Suns, all hitting their points props at a 70% clip. We've got Bruce Brown also in the 70% hit rate bucket. I think if Seth Curry and Goran Dragic are both out, Bruce Brown should have an easier time tonight hitting 12.5 points. And then from there, there's a number of different guys hitting at a 60% clip. You got Christian Wood, Kyrie Irving, Jakob Poeltl. You've got Royce O'Neal, Marcus Smart, James Harden, and Dorian Finney-Smith. And then after that, the hit rates go way down. It's 50% or less. So let's take a look at the chat. You guys are already dropping some picks, some plays off. Armando mentions that it's Kyrie Irving's birthday, so that we should take the take this however you please. So maybe there's a little bit of Kyrie Irving birthday narrative. No Ja Morant from Memphis tonight. So maybe Kyrie Irving's in a good spot, a more favorable spot. Is that what you're saying? All right, let's take a look at Kyrie Irving. We'll start things off with Kyrie Irving. Like I said, at 26.5 points, a 60% hit rate for Kyrie. But he's at 25.5 today over on PrizePicks. So we're getting a little bit of value based on what we're seeing here comparing to props.cash. Let's just take a look. 25.5 points last 10 games for Kyrie, a 60% hit rate. Now, Brooklyn, they're going to be on the road today. So what you could do is click the season view. You could look at the splits, meaning how does he perform at home versus how does he perform when he's on the road. So we look at the home splits. Of course, he can't play any home games. So all of his games are going to be on the road. 58% hit rate this season at 25.5 points. So in this case, the split's not really telling us any information because Kyrie can't play at home, cannot play in Brooklyn. As far as previous matchups against Memphis, there are none for us to reference, so don't have a whole lot of data on how Kyrie has performed against the Memphis Grizzlies this year because they've never played each other. The last time we saw Kyrie, though, he dropped 60 points on the Orlando Magic. Yes, my Orlando Magic. That was back on, last Tuesday? Taco Tuesday? He was the taco, ended up dropping 60 points. Moving forward here, you see the Memphis defense, a lot of yellow, some red, but mostly kind of a middle-of-the-road matchup, not an overly difficult one. And we love the game totals at 237.5, and we love the fact that this game is going to stay close at 1.5 points. So we move forward here. This is a DVP chart, free for you to look at. It's on Fantasy Pros. This is basically just going to tell you how many points, rebounds, assists, and all the other player prop stats that are out there that a given defense is giving up to different positions. So in this case, we're going to be looking at the point guard position. We're going to be looking at the points props, and then we're going to go find the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Memphis Grizzlies are giving up 23.4 points to point guards in their last 15 games, which kind of puts them in the middle of the pack. So not an overly easy nor overly difficult matchup for Kyrie Irving. And I would even argue that this matchup gets a little bit easier because Ja Morant's not going to be in there. So it'll be up to Tyus Jones to try and contain Kyrie Irving and his scoring onslaught tonight. So let's go ahead and refresh here and we'll take a look at some of these points projections provided by Action Labs. Action Labs is a premium tool. You do have to pay to get access to Action Labs. It's a part of Fantasy Labs, but in my opinion, well worth it. It's my go-to for player prop projections. So anyway, Kyrie Irving is at 25.5 points on PrizePicks, projected for 28.8 points tonight. 3.3 points higher is his projection versus where we're seeing him at on PrizePicks. Of course, there are some free sites out there that offer free player prop projections. Check out NumberFire, RotoWire, Betting Pros. This is just one projection model. You can always cross-reference this projection of 28.8 points with those other sites out there and kind of see how things line up for Kyrie tonight. But at 25.5 points, it looks like 2 out of the 4 sports books that I'm able to reference, we're seeing betting action on the over. The public thinking the over on Kyrie Irving is the best way to go. Now, he's also at 26.5 and his high is 27.5 points on some of these other sites. At 26.5 points, the public is betting the under. They think 27 points is a little too rich. He's even at 27.5, as I mentioned before. They definitely are hitting the over on 27 and are hitting the under on 27.5 points. So they're betting the under at 27.5. They're betting the under at 26.5, but they're betting the over at 25.5. So that's how things are kind of lining up this morning, how the public is betting this Kyrie Irving prop. Let's go back to the chat, see what else you guys are liking in here. You mentioned Kyrie Irving, so we went through that one, broke that one down a little bit. Spencer Dinwiddie. Trevor's mentioning Spencer Dinwiddie points at 19.5. We talked about Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson probably going to take on a much bigger role with Luka Doncic out. Now, when I first look at this prop, Spencer Dinwiddie, 20.5 points, I get a little bit of a sticker shock. I see Spencer Dinwiddie, 20.5 points, and I'm like, what happened to Dinwiddie when he was at like 15.5, 16.5 points? 20.5 makes me like pause a little bit. Like I almost feel like Jalen Brunson at 19.5 is a little bit of a better value. But I don't know. We're going to look at Spencer Dinwiddie. You guys are talking about him. Let's check in with Dinwiddie. I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of information of how Dinwiddie has performed as a Dallas Maverick with Luka Doncic out of the lineup. So we're going to have to kind of fly blindly into this one, which I typically don't like to do. I like to make, informed decisions, data-driven decisions when I lock in an over or under on a player prop. But in this case, we're not going to have a whole lot of data to go off of. But Spencer Dinwiddie at 20.5 points. Last 10 games, he's hit the over on this in 3 out of 10. A lot of those games were with Luka Doncic. Now I'm going to go to games without, and then I'm going to try to remove Luka Doncic. And he's got 1 game in his game log. Since joining the Dallas Mavericks, he's played 1 game without Luka. Now that was back on March 5th. I believe he was with Dallas at this point. 36 points against the Sacramento Kings. Now tonight he's going up against a Houston Rockets team that isn't all that good, right? We know Houston, not a very good team. As far as their defense, you can see ranked 30th in points allowed. That means they're giving up the most points to opposing teams. 30th in field goal percentage allowed. That means they're giving up the highest field goal percentage to opposing teams. 24th in three-pointers allowed. That is a lot of threes given up. 19th in three-point field goal percentage. 27th in free throws allowed. And dead last against point guards. So Houston, not a formidable team when it comes to their defense. Taking a look here, last 15 games, point guards against the Houston Rockets. How many points have the Rockets allowed? Well, surprisingly, last 15, they're giving up just 21.7 points. I know that sounds like a lot, but when you look at where they actually rank, that is the 5th fewest points allowed to point guards in the last 15 games. So they're actually a pretty tough defense. Now, I did mention Jalen Brunson. Let's also look at the shooting guard spot here. Shooting guards, last 15, Houston Rockets giving up about 23 to 24 points per game to shooting guards. So Brunson seemingly has the easier matchup. I would say that Spencer Dinwiddie's more of the point guard and that Jalen Brunson's more of the shooting guard. So maybe you go Jalen Brunson at a 1-point difference here. He's at 19.5. Spencer Dinwiddie a point higher at 20.5. But the better matchup seems to favor Jalen Brunson if you believe, like I believe, that he's the shooting guard for the Dallas Mavericks. I think that is the case. But nonetheless, let's look at a projection for both of these guys, both Dinwiddie and Brunson. I got Dinwiddie projected for 16.9 points, even if we were feeling generous and we wanted to round this up to 17 points. 17's not even close to 20.5. It's quite a bit lower. He is at 19.5 on 2 out of 3 sports books that I'm able to reference. Now at 19.5, the public is betting the over. They do believe in Spencer Dinwiddie over 19.5 points, but they do not believe in Spencer Dinwiddie over 20.5 points. They're taking the under on Dinwiddie at 20.5. Now, we also talked a little bit about Brunson, so let's pull Brunson up. Brunson's point projection, a bit more favorable at 18.7. Still not above his prop line of 19.5, but it's a lot closer than Dinwiddie's projection was, right? At 19.5 points, 3 different sites we can reference. 2 out of the 3, we're not seeing any action. No juice over or under on 19.5 points. On DraftKings Sportsbook, though, the public looks like they're putting their money under on Jalen Brunson. They think he's going to go for 19 or less points against the Houston Rockets. So just to kind of sum things up there, Jalen Brunson, he's a point lower than Dinwiddie. He seemingly has the better matchup as shooting guards are allowed more points or have scored more points against the Houston Rockets than point guards over the last 15 games. So, make of that what you will. Do with that information what you wish. Let's go back to the chat here. What other props are you guys talking about for points? We're talking points right now. So if you got points props you want me to take a look at, I'll look at a couple more points props and then we'll move things over to the assist category. Let's see what other ones you're talking about. We talked about Kyrie Irving for points. We talked about both Dallas Mavericks guards, Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie. Seeing some SGA points being mentioned, some Joel Embiid points versus the Lakers. I'm a little worried about the blowout, though, for Philadelphia, LA. That game could end up getting out of hand. But let's talk about Joel Embiid. Let's talk about Embiid because seemingly his matchup against the Lakers should be a very good one. He's at 31.5 points going up against LA tonight. Now, James Harden is active. If LeBron James ends up getting ruled out, this game will most assuredly be a blowout, right? Don't you think? I kind of think so. Let's go take a look at Embiid, though. We'll pull him up using Props.cash. Clicking in here. At 31.5 points, Joel Embiid over the last 10 games, not the greatest hit rate, 50% hit rate for Embiid. But looking at the last 5, things have sweetened up quite a bit for Embiid. He did have a streak of 4 straight games where he exceeded 31.5 points, going for 35, 34, 35, and 32 before coming back down to earth against the Toronto Raptors with just 21 points. But overall, last 5 games, an 80% hit rate. You can see a lot of his averages here are below 31.5, 29.8 for the season, 29.8 for his last 10, 31.4 in his last 5. And against the Lakers this season, he's played them once, had just 26 points against the Lakers. And that was back in January 27th. So didn't have the greatest performance against the Lakers back in January when they last met. One thing that I've been looking into a lot more are splits. In this case, Joel Embiid's going to be on the road visiting LA. So we could take a look at his home hit rates, which are 32%. His away hit rates, 59%. So he's a much, much better scorer on the road than he is at home this season. 59% on the road versus just 32% at home. So that's quite a big difference there. He is a major road splits type of guy. Seems to like to score the ball a lot more when he's the visiting team. Moving it down here, looking at some of these defensive rankings and metrics for the Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of green and yellow on the board, which is a good sign. They rank 26th in points allowed, 20th in field goal percentage, 18th in three-pointers allowed, 14th in three-point field goal percentage allowed, and 26th in free throws allowed. So maybe you take some Joel Embiid free throw props. That could be a good look. Looks like the Lakers are giving up over 23 free throw makes to opposing teams this season. So pretty healthy total right now at 230 points, 7-point spread that could end up turning into a blowout, especially again if LeBron James is out. Looking at the last 15 games though, the Lakers giving up over 26 points per game to centers. That is the 6th most, the 6th highest point per game average given up to centers by the Lakers. So they're not defending centers very well. Centers are getting buckets, basically. That's what that means. Embiid's projection tonight, 31.7 points. It's very close to 31.5, but it is slightly higher. So, for what it's worth, he is a projection. Projection is set to go over 31.5. Then at 31.5 points on 3 different books, the public, they believe in Joel Embiid. They're taking the over on Joel Embiid on 3 different books at 31.5. Now at 32.5 over on PointsBet, public not feeling so great about the over there. They're betting the under at 32.5. So over at 31.5, under at 32.5. Maybe he ends up at 32 points and you end up winning if you take the over at 31.5. One other thing that you could do is utilize StatMuse. You could take a look at Joel Embiid points versus Lakers logs. And you can kind of get an idea historically over the course of his career. How many times has he exceeded 31.5 points versus the Lakers? He's only done it 3 times. In a total of 7 games, he's gone over in 3 out of 7. Now, of the games that he did go over against the Lakers, this one was at home, this one was at home, and this one was away. So he's got 2 hits at home and 1 hit on the road. So there you go. A little bit more information on his splits. Let's see. What other props are you guys liking? Points props. Points. We're talking points. I see you guys mentioned a lot of other different props. We'll get to those in a minute, but let's talk about points. Mitchell. Jeremy Lenoy is mentioning Mitchell. Is that Donovan Mitchell? Donovan Mitchell points? Let's go and take a look. Yeah. Either that or you're mentioning Mitchell Robinson, who's also playing tonight, but I'm going to assume that you mean Donovan Mitchell at 26.5 points versus Boston. Let's go take a look at Donovan Mitchell, and then we'll move it on over to some assists here and keep this thing rolling. Obviously, can't get to everybody's questions. I wish that I could. I wish I could talk about everybody's favorite prop, but the conversation doesn't have to end here, folks. I got Discord set up. Links down in the description below. There's a comment section. After this video goes up and the replay is out there for you to watch again, leave a comment. There's other ways to get in touch with me. Twitter, that works as well if you're asking for opinions, advice. I'm available. For the most part, I can answer a lot of questions. Okay, so Donovan Mitchell at 26.5 points. Let's look at the last 10 games here and see what Mitchell's been up to. At 26.5, he's covered this prop in 4 out of 10. So not the greatest hit rate in the last 10, but when you look at the last 5, things really bulk up. They beef up. He's gone over 26.5 points in 4 straight games, 29, 37, 36, and 30. He's riding a 4-game streak of hitting the over at 26.5 points. So he's showing a lot more scoring pop here in the last 4 games. Now against Boston this season, he has played them once. It was back on my birthday, December 3rd, where he dropped 34 points against this Boston Celtics team that was in Utah. Now tonight, they're going to be in Boston, so he's going to be on the road. So we could take a look at the splits for the season for Donovan Mitchell. At home, he's covered this prop in 50% of his games. Not bad. On the road, he has covered this prop in 56% of his games. So he's a slightly better scorer on the road than he is at home. Now, we can also take Bogdanovich out and see if we've got any game logs. Of course, Bogdanovich already ruled out for Utah. He's played 3 games this season on the road without Bogdanovich, and in those games, he has went over 26.5 points in 2 out of 3, dropping 36 against the Knicks on March 20th, 30 against Brooklyn on March 21st. Overall, without Bogdanovich, he's 4 out of 5 in covering his points prop. So there should be even more scoring potential here for Donovan Mitchell with Bogdanovich out. You would think, right? So that's something to kind of keep an eye out on. Moving it down here, the Boston defense, a lot of red here. It's red across the board. Not even going to lie to you. Not even going to fake or front. The Boston defense, as far as where they rank, man, they are tough. They are tough. The best thing that we got going here for Donovan Mitchell is the fact that Boston ranks just 11th against opposing shooting guards. Otherwise, they are top 10 and even number 1 in a number of different categories that you see here on Props.Cash. So let's move it forward here. We're going to look at the shooting guard spot last 15 games. We're going to take a look and see how many points that Boston's been giving up to the 2-guard position. We scroll down a ways because, as we mentioned, Boston's defense is kind of tough. They're giving up just 19.1 points to opposing shooting guards. That is the 4th fewest. So on paper, the game isn't played on paper, but we got to talk about paper, digital paper in this case, a website. 19.1 points is not a whole lot of points given up by Boston to opposing shooting guards. Now, you could go back and look at those last 15 games. Maybe they faced a bunch of bums. Maybe they didn't face any good quality shooting guards of Donovan Mitchell's caliber. I don't know. Or maybe they're just a really good defense. And it doesn't matter who they're facing, but the matchup against Boston looking like a pretty tough one. So we move it forward here. We're going to get you a projection on Donovan Mitchell. He does have a nice hit rate with Bogdanovich out of the lineup. 4 out of 5 this season, as we talked about. 2 out of 3 on the road. But the matchup's not looking too friendly here, folks. He's at 26.5 points. We're seeing him at 26.5 on every sports book that we're able to reference. Now, 26.5, the public, they say, screw the matchup. We're taking the over anyway. We don't care about Boston. We ain't afraid of them. We're going to take the over on Donovan Mitchell's points at 26.5, and there ain't nothing you can do to stop us. But at 27.5 points on one other site, they don't feel so optimistic. They're taking the under at 27.5. A minus 112 favorite to go under. But the projections have him at 27.6. That's more than 26.5. So maybe you can feel a little bit more confident knowing that he is projected to go over 26.5 points. All right, so there's some points props for you. Broken them down. We went in depth. You guys start leaving some of your favorite assist props. We'll look at assists next, and then we'll start talking some rebounds, PRA, and we'll get into all the other ones and wrap this sucker up so you guys can run off and go make some player prop some player prop picks, I should say. So yeah, we're going to talk some assists, guys who've been hitting their assist props at a high hit rate over the last 10 games, because we like to look for the overs. Life's too short to play the unders. Let's play some overs, right? It's more fun to root for. So while you guys are starting to drop some assist props you want me to take a look at, I will take a look at this water bottle right here because your boy's getting thirsty, man. And you can assist me, by the way, by hitting a like on this live stream if it's providing value, if you're enjoying the content, if you like what I'm doing here. Hit the thumbs up. Let's try to get to 100 likes, at least 100 likes today. I think we can do it. I absolutely think we can do it. I have complete faith in you guys to smash that like button. All right. So you guys are talking about some assist props. A number of different ones that you're liking here. We got Jalen Brunson being mentioned. You're mentioning some Donovan Mitchell for assists. So maybe you don't like Donovan Mitchell so much for points. Maybe you like Donovan Mitchell more for assists. That could be a good way to go. Donovan Mitchell is hitting his assist prop at 80%. 80% over the last 10 games. Jalen Green, another guy who's hitting his assist prop at a 90% hit rate. From there, we got a number of different players hitting at 70%, including Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, a couple of Phoenix Suns, Marcus Smart, Kevin Durant, Jae'Sean Tate, all hitting at a 70% hit rate as well. So we've already talked Donovan Mitchell for points. Like I said, his hit rates on the assists are at 80%. Maybe you end up going there instead of the points. You guys are talking about Travis A's mentioning Jalen Brunson's assist without Doncic. Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to, have to assist for the Dallas Mavericks. Do you think that's going to be more on Jalen Brunson's shoulders, or do you think that's going to be more on Spencer Dinwiddie's shoulders? We don't have a whole lot of data. What happens with Dallas when Luka's out? We don't know. We don't have a whole lot of information on that. Some people are saying, Busy Brown, fade the KD, Kevin Durant assists. My man King is saying, hit that like button. Love it. Let's take a look at Jalen Brunson for assists. We talked about maybe going there for points. You guys are saying, at least one of you guys are saying, that Jalen Brunson for his assists at 5.5 could be a good look. Somebody's going to have to pick up those 8 to 9 assists that Luka typically dishes out per game. And maybe Jalen Brunson's the leading candidate to do just that. So Brunson could be in play. Donovan Mitchell could be in play for assists. I like where your heads are at on some of those. Brunson, for me, I look at him as more the top scoring option and less of the assist man. I look at Spencer Dinwiddie as maybe being, less about getting points and more about getting assists. And I could be way wrong. Maybe there's a Dallas Mavericks fan out there that could clear things up for us a little bit more. But that's kind of how I look at these two guards. But I digress. So, Jalen Brunson at 5.5 assists, you're going to open up his hit rates and be like, golly, that's ugly. 1 out of 10. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But he's going up against Houston tonight. On 2 previous games against Houston, he's hit 11 and 10 dimes against this Houston Rockets team. Now, this predates Spencer Dinwiddie. This was back when they had Kristaps Porzingis. Tim Hardaway Jr. was probably healthy. Jalen Brunson's role is a little different nowadays. I think he's more of a primary scorer than he is a setup guy, an assist man. What we can try and do, though, is remove Luka Doncic here. See how many assists that Jalen Brunson has gotten without Luka Doncic. And it looks good. I mean, when you look at the 5.5 assists, you remove Luka Doncic from the equation, you see that this season he has covered 5.5 assists without Luka in 94% of his games. That's 15 out of 16. 94% hit rate is no joke. The only game that he missed was against the Oklahoma City Thunder, where he had just 3 assists in that one. So things looking very good here for Jalen Brunson. Of course, like I said, Spencer Dinwiddie now in the situation here. He's now a part of the equation. He could possibly shake things up and turn things sideways here for Jalen Brunson. We don't know. We've never really seen this before. It hasn't really happened all that much. We've got one game to reference, and it was against Sacramento. Jalen Brunson ended up with 6 assists against the Kings. That was a game where Luka was out. I think Brunson and Dinwiddie were both in. Brunson ended up with 6 assists in that game. But there's a whole lot of green here this season. Without Luka, Jalen Brunson has dropped a ton of dimes. So I can see why you guys might like that. Scrolling down here, looking at the matchup, of course, Houston, 25th ranked in assists allowed, meaning they're giving up nearly 26 dimes per game to opposing teams. So it's a very good matchup on paper. Go to the shooting guard spot. We're going to go take a look at Houston. Last 15 games, see how many dimes the Rockets are giving up to shooting guards. They're giving up about 4.5. Not the greatest average in the world, 4.5. Let's also take a look at the point guard spot here. Houston giving up about 9.8 assists. So if you consider Dinwiddie to be more the point guard, Brunson to be more the shooting guard, well then Dinwiddie would be in a better spot for his assists. But, both of these guys are kind of, I don't know, interchangeable, right? We don't know who's the true point guard, who's the true shooting guard without Luka Doncic there. It's kind of, remains to be seen. But Dinwiddie's at 7 assists, Brunson's at 5.5. So Brunson's prop lines today a little bit lower than Dinwiddie, both for points and assists. So, easier path to victory would be taking overs on Jalen Brunson, being that his props are a bit lower. Moving it forward here, let's pull up a projection for both of these Dallas Mavericks guys, because you guys seem to be on the Mavericks. You want to play the Mavericks against Houston, which I don't blame you. I got Brunson projected for 5.9 assists. He's also a big betting favorite, minus 140 on some of these sports books out here. So the public liking the over on Brunson's dimes. Now for Dinwiddie, they've got him projected at 6.8. He's at 7.5 on the sports books. At 7.5, they are betting the under on Dinwiddie. So Dinwiddie's got the higher prop lines, both for points and assists. What do you guys like? You like him more Spencer Dinwiddie for assists, or you like him more Jalen Brunson for assists? Which one are you guys favoring? Who do you think is going to be more the facilitator, the setup guy? Is it going to be Brunson dropping the dimes today, or is it going to be Dinwiddie? Or maybe they both do a little bit of scoring and assisting. They could both do their thing, I guess you could say, right? It doesn't have to be this or that. It could be this and that, perhaps. But like I said, we don't have a whole lot of game information with Luka out and Brunson and Dinwiddie in. So Matthew W. says that he believes it's going to be some Jalen Brunson today. Leroy agrees that it's Brunson over Dinwiddie for him. Matthew says that Dinwiddie has failed me before. Busy Brown's liking the Dinwiddie points more than the Brunson points. Aaron Rodgers is thinking we take the over on Dinwiddie's points and we take the over on Jalen Brunson's assists. Gotcha. I like what you're talking about here. Some of you folks are mentioning another Jalen. I've seen Jalen Green's name pop up. His points prop at 15.5. I mean, we're seeing a discount on Jalen Green's points. I'm going to go backwards here. He's at 15.5. Just a couple days ago, we've seen him at 18.5, even 17.5. So he's at 15.5 tonight. Maybe you go to some Jalen Green. But you guys are mentioning Jalen Green for assists. Maybe you like his assists more than his points. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one. Jalen Green does have a pretty high hit rate at 2.5 dimes, 90% hit rate. I've seen some folks taking Jalen Green for PRA as well. So if you believe in his assist and his points, then maybe you go to PRA for Jalen Green. So Jalen Green, the other side of this Dallas-Houston game, last 10 games for him, he's hit over 2.5 assists in 9 out of 10 games. Now, this could be a situation, a prop, where you end up in a tie or a push, because when we bump this up from 2.5 to 3, you get some gray bars in there. Those gray bars mean he landed on exactly 3 assists, so you'd be in a tie situation, which isn't the worst thing in the world, right? Not the worst thing in the world. Overall, though, he's hit 3 or more assists in 9 out of 10 games, so 90%, looking pretty healthy. Averaging 4.2 in the last 10, 3.8 in the last 5. Now, versus Dallas this season, he's faced the Mavericks 3 times. Once was really early in the season. Back in January, he faced them, had 1 assist in each of those games, but the last time he faced them was recently, March 11th. He dropped 6 dimes on their heads. So 1 for 3 this year against the Dallas Mavericks and covering his assist prop. Looking at Dallas, they're giving up the 7th most assists allowed, or 7th fewest if you want to look at it that way. Just 23.4 assists given up per game to opposing teams. So Kevin Porter Jr., point guard. Jalen Green, shooting guard. So let's go look at the shooting guards and see how many assists that Dallas has been giving up over the last 15 games. We got to go all the way down toward the bottom because Dallas has given up just about 4 assists, which is the 3rd fewest. He needs at least 3 for you to not lose money, right? Needs at least 3. They're giving up about 4. So this could be one of those that ends up in a tie or a push. Looks like a difficult DVP, defense versus position situation here for Jalen Green. But nonetheless, let's move on and get you a projection on his assist prop. He is projected for 2.8. That is indeed, in fact, more than 2.5. He is a betting favorite to go over 2.5, minus 140, minus 150, and even as high as minus 155 on some of these sports books. So Jalen Green, you could look at him for maybe some points. I think his points could be in play at 15.5. Seems like a pretty low number, due to the fact that he was at 17.5 recently. Getting a little bit of value. He's projected for 16. Or you could also look at his assists, but just realize going into it that you could end up in a tie or a push situation. We'll talk about one more because I see a lot of people mentioning Cade Cunningham's assists. Cade Cunningham has been on fire lately, gang. He has been absolutely on fire. He's going up against Atlanta, who's coming off of a game last night against the Knicks. So it's a back-to-back for the Atlanta Hawks. We'll make Cade Cunningham the last assist prop, and then we'll get into some rebounds. Then we'll talk PRA and so on and so forth, and try to get to as many of your inquiries and as many of your questions as possible here. So let's go to Cade Cunningham, who's been playing out of his mind recently. I think he's really, really pushing for that Rookie of the Year award. Cade Cunningham, last 10 games, not looking so good when you look at 6.5 assists. But when you bump him down from 6.5 down to 6, things get a little bit more palatable here. He's gone for 6 or more assists in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 10. A 70% hit rate at 6 or better. So again, this is another one of those assist props where you could end up in a tie or a push situation. Tie, push, tomato, tomato means the same thing, okay? For those of you who aren't familiar, who aren't hip with the terminology. Tie, push, same type of thing. But anyway, Cade Cunningham at 6 or more assists, 70% hit rate in the last 10 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 70%. The last 5 have especially been pretty good for Cade. He's gone for 6 or better in 5 straight games. So he's technically at 100% hit rate going for 6 or more assists, averaging 7.8 dimes in that span. Looking at what he's done against the Atlanta Hawks this season, we dial it into 6 assists. You can see he easily went over 6 assists against the Hawks back at the beginning of March 7th. Ended up with 10 assists versus this Hawks team. So things looking kind of good here for Cade Cunningham. The Hawks giving up a lot of assists, 25.5 per game. That is the 24th ranked as far as assists allowed goes. So let's move forward. Let's go to the point guard position. Look at the last 15 games and see how many assists that the Atlanta Hawks are giving up to point guards. Now, we got to go down a ways. We got to get our scroll on because Atlanta's given up just 7.7 assists in the last 15 games. So looking at that, that is the 8th fewest. It's not the easiest matchup in the world. He needs at least 6. They're giving up about 7.7. There's a little bit of wiggle room there, a little bit of upside, a little bit of a ceiling. The ceiling's not super high, kind of low based on the averages that the Atlanta Hawks are giving up to point guards. But like I said, we've seen him hit double-digit assists in his most recent matchup against the Hawks, so we know that it's possible. We know that he could get there. Cade Cunningham's projection for his assist today, 5.5, less than 6. He's at 6.5. I'm only seeing him on one sports book at the moment. The public not feeling great about Cade Cunningham. They're betting the under, -140. So that's why we're getting him at 6 today over on PrizePicks. But with the hit rates being 100% in his last 5 games at 6 or better, maybe you lean toward the over here. Seeing that he hit double-digit assists the last time he played the Hawks, which was, 2 weeks ago, roughly? 2 weeks ago? So maybe lean toward the over. You end up in a tie or a push on Cade Cunningham. Not the end of the world, right? Not the end of the world. All right, so we've talked points, assists. Let's move forward. Let's look at some rebound props. You guys let me know what rebound props you want me to look into. Like I said, probably not going to get to them all. I have limited time and limited availability here. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to try to get to as many rebound props as I can, or at least the ones that you guys are making the most noise about. I'm here to help you with your player prop research. I'm here to try and ease some of the tension, some of the friction when it comes to research and player props. So I'm trying to help you guys as much as possible here. So if you got some rebound props, let me know. I got the high hit rate rebounders already pulled up thanks to props.cash. Let's go through this player prop trends hit rates page. We got a couple of Utah guys at the top of the heap here. Royce O'Neal at 4.5 rebounds, 70%. Donovan Mitchell, 3.5 rebounds, 70% hit rate for him. We got 3 other guys joining these Utah fellas. We got Joel Embiid, 11.5 rebounds, 70%. DeJounte Murray at 8.5 rebounds, 70%. And LeBron James, 7.5 rebounds. You guessed it, 70%. From there, a number of different 60% hitters. Guys like Jalen Green, Rudy Gobert, Bruce Brown, Christian Wood, Keldon Johnson. And then from there, it's 50% or less. So anything that's hitting at 50% or less, you want to make sure that you're at least playing those guys in a prime matchup. If you're going to take anybody who's hitting that low, play them in a very good matchup. Otherwise, I ain't playing anybody who's at a 50% hit rate or less. That's unless it's an under. Maybe I play them for under. Let's go ahead and take a look at chat. You guys are starting to flood the chat with a number of different picks and plays. I'm seeing a lot of Embiid rebounds. I've seen some Gobert rebounds. Gobert's let me down 2 games in a row. He has underperformed on the glass in 2 spots that I thought were smash spots, especially that last one against Nick Claxton and the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know what happened there, but Rudy Gobert ended up getting rebounded by both Royce O'Neal and Jordan Clarkson off the bench. So, I'm seeing enough Joel Embiid mentions in here that we should probably talk about Embiid going up against the Lakers. We looked at his points. His points at 31.5 seemed awfully high to me. Seemed kind of high to me. Not that he can't do it. He can obviously do it whenever he wants to do it. But 31.5 points over the course of his career. He's only hit 3 out of 7. I think it was 3 out of 7 hit rates against the Lakers. And maybe his rebound hit rates against the Lakers are a little bit better. Let's look at Joel, the process, Embiid. As we go through our player prop research process here, I know my good looks and smooth, silky voice can be hypnotizing, but I need you to hit the like button, all right? Can't forget that. You can't fall in love with me and not hit the like button, all right? You gotta snap out of it. This is me snapping you out of it while we look into Joel Embiid's rebounds. Hit that like button while you're here and enjoying this content. Anyway, last 10 games for Embiid, 7 of 10, a 70% hit rate. So he's done a pretty good job, averaging 12.5 boards in the last 10 games, 12.6 in his last 5, so a slight uptick. But it's been hit, miss, hit, miss, hit. Maybe tonight is another miss. I don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen tonight. But we go and we look at what he's done against the Lakers in his previous game. That was back on January 27th, end of January. Ended up with just 9 rebounds versus the Lakers. So he didn't hit his points prop against the Lakers this season. He did not hit his rebound prop either, finishing with just 9 boards in that game. We can also take a look at the splits here for Joel Embiid and see what he's doing this season. Obviously, he's going to be on the road tonight. So let's start by looking at his home splits. 61% hit rate at 11.5 rebounds at home. On the road, a 44% hit rate. He has not rebounded very well on the road. He rebounds a lot better at home. Don't know why, don't know the rhyme or reason behind that, but for some reason, 61% hit rate at home, 44% hit rate on the road. That is a pretty big split, pretty big difference, right? All right. Going down, looking at this matchup, the Lakers ranked 27th in total rebounds allowed, 27th in offensive rebounds allowed, 27th in defensive rebounds allowed. So pretty consistent there. They're not a very good team when it comes to keeping opposing players off of the glass. But let's look specifically at the center spot. Last 15 games, scroll down a little ways, find the Lakers. They're at 15.5 rebounds allowed to centers in their last 15 games. You can see where that puts them, right in the middle of the pack. Not an overly difficult nor overly easy matchup for Embiid when it comes to rebounds. This is kind of setting up to be one of those props that's almost feels like a coin flip. Not seeing a huge advantage or anything like that for Embiid. As far as his projections, though, he is projected for 12.1 boards at 11.5 rebounds. He is a betting favorite on 3 out of 3 books to cover at 11.5. By cover, I mean go for 12 or more rebounds. Now we could also take a look at Joel Embiid rebounds versus the Lakers throughout his career. For those of you who want a little bit more information, how many times has Embiid hit 12 or more boards? Just twice. Once, twice. Once all the way back in 2017. The other one was back in 2019. His last 2 matchups against the Lakers, 9 rebounds and 6 rebounds in those games. So he's 2 out of 7. Not the greatest hit rates again. And being on the road doesn't look like it gets much better either. So there you go. That's Joel Embiid. Who else are you guys talking about here? We've covered Embiid. We've tackled Embiid's rebounds. You guys did mention Gobert. And I think Gobert is going to be one of those ones that a lot of folks are just torn on tonight. They're not really sure what to do, where to go with Rudy Gobert. Eventually this guy's going to have another one of those 15, 20 rebound type of games, especially coming off of 2 duds in a row. Let's just talk about Gobert. I know some of you are already opposed to it. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go there with Gobert. But we're going to go there. We're going to go there for sure. So Utah taking on Boston tonight. Utah is on the road. We could start off by looking at the splits here. Rudy Gobert at home, 69% hit rate at 12.5 boards. Rudy Gobert on the road, 75% hit rate at 12.5 boards. He rebounds better on the road than he does at home. Now let's just take, for fun, let's just take Bogdanovich out of the picture. Does things get better or do things get worse? Well, they don't look very good. 12.5 rebounds without Bogdanovich this season. Just 3 games played on the road. He's gone 1 of 3. Let's just look at overall. Not bad. 4 out of 6. 67% hit rate. But, just wanted to see how things stack up without Bogdanovich in there. But overall, when we take Bog out, or remove Bog from the equation, and then we look at the away splits, he does rebound at a 75% hit rate this season on the road. So pretty significant there. Go down, we look at Boston. They rank 13th in total rebounds, 19th in offensive, and 11th in defensive rebounds. So not the most difficult matchup for Gobert when it comes to boards. Now we're looking at the last 15 center spot. We're going to go find Boston. They're giving up just 14.2 rebounds to centers, which isn't a whole lot. It is more than 12.5, but we also have to consider that there is a guy named Hassan Whiteside on the team. So just because Boston's given up 14.2 rebounds to centers doesn't mean that Rudy Gobert is going to get all 14.2 rebounds. There are other centers on the team that we have to account for. In this case, Hassan Whiteside, pretty formidable backup center. But when you look at the ranking, that is the 7th fewest. So maybe this isn't the night where we finally take the over on Rudy Gobert. Yes, I know his number is at 12.5. It looks appealing. It looks very, very enticing, but the matchup is not looking so good. He's projected for 14.7 boards at 12.5. The public agrees that taking the under on Rudy Gobert in what seems like a tough matchup against Boston is the move tonight. Now let's take a look at something here. Take it a little further here with Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert rebounds versus Celtics logs. I just want to see how he's done, in the course of his career against the guys in green, the Boston Celtics. So 12.5 rebounds. He's played them in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 career games. Dating all the way back to 2013. 16 career games. In those 16 games, he has covered this number in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of 16. Now he comes really close. If you do take the over, you are probably going to sweat. Even if you take the under on Rudy Gobert, you're probably going to sweat. He's had 12, 12, and 12 in his last 3 meetings against the Boston Celtics. So things not looking so great for Rudy Gobert, but he does have favorable road splits when it comes to pulling in more than 12.5 rebounds. So there you go. Rudy Gobert. Not looking super strong to me one way or the other. Probably going to be a fade for my taste. Let's see, any other rebound props that are standing out, or should we move on to PRA? Let's take a look. Scrolling through. Any other rebound props? You guys aren't mentioning a whole lot here for rebounds. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered them. We'll talk Christian Wood, and then we'll kick it on over. We'll talk Christian Wood rebounds, and then we'll move it on over to PRA. Christian Wood against Dallas, so he'll be matched up against the likes of Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber potentially. Not really scared of either one of those guys. Let's talk some Christian Wood rebounds. We'll make that the last rebound prop, because you guys aren't really spitting out a whole lot of rebounds for me to look at, which is okay. You know, maybe there's just not a lot of good rebound options on the board just yet. Christian Wood at 9.5 rebounds. Last 10 games, he has covered this in 6 out of 10. That's a 60% hit rate. Doing a pretty good job here. Averaging 10.2 for the season, 9.9 in his last 10, 10.2 in his last 5. And against Dallas this season, he's had 17 in one game and just 3 in another, averaging 10 rebounds per game. So one huge hit and one huge miss against the Dallas Mavericks. So polar opposites. When we look at the splits for Christian Wood, does he rebound better at home or on the road? Well, he's on the road tonight. His home hit rate's 45%. His away hit rate's 59%. So a lot more green on the road than at home. So a lot better rebounder when he is on the road like he is tonight versus Dallas. Taking a look at this Mavericks team, 14th in total rebounds, 5th in offensive, and 19th in defensive rebounds allowed. That's the key one, because when a player pulls in rebounds, most of those rebounds are going to be defensive rebounds. Now we look at the Dallas Mavericks last 15 games. How many boards are they giving up to centers? We got to go down a ways here, because Dallas not giving up a ton. Oh, no, wait. Take that back. I take that back. I skipped over them. They're giving up the second most rebounds in the last 15 games to centers. So this is actually a very good matchup for Christian Wood. They're giving up 17.5. He needs just 10 to hit the over. So, yeah, Dallas giving up a lot of rebounds to the center position. I also like looking at the power forward spot. Power forwards, they're giving up fewer rebounds to power forwards, 9.3, because sometimes they put Alperen Şengün at center, Christian Wood at power forward. So it's important we look at both of those front court positions. But if Wood spends more time at center, it looks like he's in a very good spot against Dallas, who's given up 17.5 per game. All right, let's get you a projection on Christian Wood here. He's projected for 11.1 at 9.5 rebounds, a huge betting favorite to go over, minus 140 right now, gang. This probably will get bumped up to 10 at some point. I have a funny feeling, because he's at 9.5 on some books, 10.5 on other books. Now at 10.5 boards, they're smashing the under at 10.5. Minus 160 under 10.5, but minus 140 over 9.5. So if you like this prop, I would recommend you go ahead and get it at 9.5 before they bump it up to 10. You're saying it's 10 already? Maybe we need to refresh. It might be at 10 already. Let's go take a look. Nope, still at 9.5. You still got time at 9.5, Mr. King Chris. There you go. All right. Let's go ahead and talk some PRA. If you got some PRA plays, let me know what you're liking. I'm going to pull up the hit rates again using props.cash. PRA last 10, who's been hitting at a high clip. So number of different guys hitting at 80%, which is encouraging. We got Jalen Green at 21.5 PRA, 80%. Bruce Brown, 22.5 PRA, 80%. Marcus Smart, 22.5 PRA, 80%. Jason Tatum, his teammate, 41.5 PRA, an 80% hit rate. And we got Royce O'Neal, Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker all hitting their PRA at a 70% hit rate. And then there's a ton of guys, too many to name, that are hitting at 60%. But let's take a look and see what the chat is saying here. Which PRA options are you guys wanting me to look at the most? Which ones are you liking? Which ones do you need questions answered for? Which ones do you need research provided for? I'm happy to help. Desmond's already shouting out Brucey B, Brooklyn Nets swingman Bruce Brown at 22.5 PRA. Now, Bruce Brown could be an even better option if both Seth Curry, who's dealing with an ankle injury, and Goran Dragic end up sitting. Then it would be KD, Kyrie, and Bruce B. Yeah, it all rhymes. Bruce B would be in a really good spot here at 20.5. Let's take a look at him, because at 22.5 PRA, he's covered this in 80% of his games. So we'll switch things up here on props.cash. Bruce Brown. He is at 21.5 by default on props.cash. Let's go ahead and look at his last 10 games. We'll bump this down to 20.5. The hit rates stay the same at 21.5 or 20.5, so it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But last 10 games, an 80% hit rate. It's gone 8 out of 10. We look at the averages, very strong averages, 25.5 PRA in his last 10, 28.4 PRA in his last 5. He's gone 5 out of his last 5 at covering 20.5 PRA. Now against Memphis this season, played them once. He did cover 20.5 PRA and 21.5 PRA with 22 back in January 3rd to be exact. So he has shown an ability to get the job done last 10, last 5, and against today's opponent, the Memphis Grizzlies. Excuse me, allergies kicking my butt. So we love the game total at 237.5. We love the spread at just 1.5 points. Memphis giving up the 13th ranked points allowed, 7th ranked rebounds allowed, and 21st in assists allowed. So not an overly difficult situation here for Bruce Brown. Now let's just assume that Dragic plays, Seth Curry plays. That would probably force Bruce Brown to play more at the 3 spot, the small forward position. So assuming that those guys are in and Bruce Brown's playing more small forward tonight, let's go see how many PRA that Memphis has given up to small forwards in the last 15. About 19 points per game. Let's just round it up, call it 20 for a better even number. About 6 rebounds, so that's like 26 plus 4 assists. You're looking at about 30 or more PRA allowed. My boy Bruce Brown needs just 21. So looking like a good situation here. One that, he could potentially reach the over on. Bruce Brown, his projected PRA, 21.7 at 21.5. Under on one site, the other site not seeing any juice or action over or under. So for me, I'm taking the wait and see approach. But if you want to get it locked in early, if you think that Seth Curry, Goran Dragic are truly out tonight, go ahead and lock it in now if you want. But I'm going to wait and see. I'm the type, I like to have all the information that I can, So hopefully that helps you out, Mr. Desmond. Let's see what other PRA options that you guys are liking. I'm seeing Waney Wicked mentioning some Bridges. Is this Mikal Bridges or is this Miles Bridges? You did not specify, so I will try to wait on that. Knicks Rashad for Life is mentioning Cade, Miles, Terry. I need PRA bad. Definitely against my Knicks. Okay, so we'll talk Miles Bridges because you're saying Miles Bridges. Somebody else mentioned M Bridges. We don't know, which Bridges Mr. Waney Wicked mentioned, but Miles Bridges at 29.5. We'll take a look at that one. His hit rates, not one that jumped off the page, so maybe he's talking about Mikal Bridges, but Mikal Bridges is at 23.5 PRA at a 70% hit rate. I don't see anything for Miles Bridges where he's like a high hit rate guy, but we'll talk about him because you're mentioning him. Miles Bridges at 29.5. Last 10 games, just a 50% hit rate. But the last 5 for Miles Bridges, an 80% hit rate. 43, 36, 30, 34. But then comes crashing back down against New Orleans with just 25. His averages look pretty good here. 30.8 for the season, 29.5 in his last 10, 33.6 in his last 5. That's a huge number. Now against the New York Knicks, he has covered his PRA in 2 out of 2 games. 32 and a huge 55 PRA against the Knicks back on January 17th. He is averaging 43.5 points plus rebounds plus assists against the Knicks this season. We could also take a look at his splits. Let's remove Gordon Hayward, see if his hit rate goes up. Right now he's at 57% overall. Without Hayward, it drops down actually to 50% hit rate. And then we take a look at what he's done when he is at home versus on the road. His home hit rates, 50%. His away hit rates, 50%. So he is truly unimpacted by being at home or away. Okay, he's a 50% hit rate type of guy through and through. So not really seeing any benefits him playing at home tonight. looking at this New York Knicks defense, they rank 8th in points allowed, 11th in rebounds allowed, 14th in assists allowed. Now, Bridges spends the majority of his time at the power forward spot. It sounds like Julius Randle's probably going to be out for New York once again. He missed last night. Sounds like he's probably going to miss again tonight. But we go find the New York Knicks. They're giving up about 18.2 points, about 8 rebounds. So we're already at like 26. And then 3 assists on top of that, like 29 PRA. So there's not a ton of upside here for Miles Bridges, but maybe the matchup gets a bit easier against this Knicks squad without Julius Randle in the building. I got Bridges projected for 31.2 PRA. That's more than the 29.5. But at 29.5, we're not really seeing any action over or under on Bridges at this point. You guys are saying that they bumped Kyrie so much. What did they bump him in? Which props? Yeah. I've got a PrizePicks promo code. You see it right above my head, Mr. Hernandez, Daniel Hernandez. Promo code Curry, my friend. Go ahead and use that. You get a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit, all the way up to $100. So if you want to put in 20, 50, 100, they're going to double your money. And yeah, you could use that promo code right above my head here. Why wouldn't you use my promo code, my friend? Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about as far as arguing or, you know, let's try to keep it positive though. We're all on the same team here, right? We're all trying to win money, trying to help each other out. So I'm not paying too close attention of the bickering and the chitter chatter and stuff, but let's try to keep the attitude positive, right? We're all here to try and help each other win. We're all on the same team, all on the same team. I will take one more PRA. We've already talked GOAT. We've already talked Christian Wood's rebounds. You must have came in late. We did that one though. We did that one. Christian Wood's rebounds look good, by the way. Look like more of an overplay than an underplay for me. But yeah, other PRA options. Taking a look here, you guys are mentioning Terry Rozier, Tobias Harris. I don't know if I'm going to go to Tobias Harris. We talked about a Hornet already. Let's talk Booker. Booker could be interesting. We'll talk about Devin Booker. He's another star who, you know, going up against Minnesota, his friend, Karl Anthony Towns, former teammate, I believe, at the University of Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. Both Wildcats. Am I wrong on that? I think they played together, didn't they? Anyway, Devin Booker, 38.5 PRA. He's at least another guy who's been hitting at a pretty good clip, 70%, 7 out of 10. So we'll wrap this one up, wrap PRA up by talking about this one with Devin Booker here. Wet like I'm Book. The great poet Drizzy Drake once said. 38.5 PRA here for the season. Just a 43% hit rate. In the last 10 games, 70% hit rate. So very good hit rate in the last 10, going over in 7 out of 10. He's averaging 40 PRA in the last 10. In the last 5, he's averaging 40.8 and 80% hit rate when we look at the last 5 games. And then against Minnesota, 40 average 40 PRA, 39 back in November, and then back in January he had 41. So Devin Booker, PRA, looking very good against tonight's opponent, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Scrolling on down here, looking at the T-Wolves defense, they rank 21st in points allowed, 23rd in rebounds allowed, and 26th in assists allowed. So it's not a very scary team. Nice total, 236.5, with Phoenix as a 1-point favorite on the road. I think Booker's in a really good spot. 2 for 2 against Minnesota, 80% in his last 5, and then his last 10 look really solid as well. So looking at this Minnesota T-Wolves team, PRA allowed to shooting guards, 22 points, about 6 or 7 rebounds. So that's like 29, and then like 4 assists. So about 34 to 35 PRA. And then, you know, you're just about there for the over on Devin Booker. Pulling up Booker here, he's projected for 38.4. That's really close to the 38.5. He is a betting favorite to go over on 2 different sites here. So there you go. Devin Booker looks like he's in a really good spot. 2 for 2 against Minnesota. High hit rates in the last 5. High hit rates in the last 10. A game that's going to be high scoring, close and competitive. I think Devin Booker makes some sense. What about 3-point props? Is there anything that you're liking for 3-point makes? Go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'll take a look at those for you guys. I've got the last 10 pulled up here looking at props.cash. We've got about 4, 8, 12 different options up on the PrizePicks board. This guy, Mikal Bridges, at 1.5 3-point makes an 80% hit rate, so he's been knocking them down from beyond the arc. Jalen Green at 1.5 3-point makes a 70% hit rate. He could be somebody worth considering. Dorian Finney-Smith at 2.5 3-point makes a 70% hit rate as well. Who else we got up here? We got any Donovan Mitchell in the building? No Donovan Mitchell from the looks of it. Marcus Smart, another guy at 1.5 3-point makes, 60% hit rate. Maybe you look his way. If there's any 3-point props you want to look at, let me know. I'm happy to help, man. Do 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 do. Kyrie. Brent wants to know about Kyrie and Desmond Bane. Kyrie's not up on the board. Neither is Desmond Bane. Let's go LaMelo Ball. I see Desmond's mentioning LaMelo Ball for threes. Sadiq Bey also not up on the board. Yeah, let's try to stick to the ones that are on the PrizePicks board if possible. King, I see you. Desmond, I see you. Let's go ahead and talk about this LaMelo Ball 2.5 3-point makes, because LaMelo Ball's been shooting the cover off of the basketball lately. So we go to LaMelo Ball. We go to the 3-point field goals made category here. Again, if you've never used props.cash before and you'd like to access it, listen, you get first month 25% off on your first month. 25% off on your first month if you use promo code Curry. There's a link down in the description to get you started. But LaMelo Ball, last 10 games, 60% hit rate. It's been the last 5 that have really been impressive for LaMelo here, where he's knocked down 5, 5, 5, and 4 threes in 4 straight games. So he's 4 out of his last 5 and 80% hit rate for LaMelo Ball. Now we're going to look at his splits because he might be a better shooter on the road versus home. So we're going to take a look at both of those. So when he's at home, he hits at 55%. When he's away, he hits at 50%. So not really all that impacted. Slightly higher at home. Slightly higher hit rate at home than he is on the road. But not a crazy splits guy. Looking at the New York Knicks, I guess he hasn't played the Knicks. Well, no, he did play him. He played him once, November 12th. He did not hit a 3 against the Knicks the last time they played. Went without a 3. So it did not hit a 3 against the Knicks in that one. Looking at the defense here for the Knicks, 20th ranked in 3-pointers allowed, 11th ranked in 3-point field goal percentage allowed, and then they ranked 23rd against point guards. So moving it forward here, point guards, 3-point makes allowed by the New York Knicks last 15 games. We could go down and take a look at this. Where are the Knicks? There they are. Giving up about 2.8. That kind of puts them like in the middle of the pack, but down closer toward the bottom. He needs to make 3. They're giving up 2.8. Matchup wise, I don't know, man. It's not looking great for me. It's not looking like one that I love. He's projected for 2.6 though. That's more than 2.5. And then at 2.5, he is a betting favorite, minus 130 to go over. You guys got any other 3-point props you want me to take a look at? Any other 3-point props you want me to take a look at? Ones that are actually on the PrizePicks board, preferably. Kyrie and Bane were mentioned by Brent. Kyrie, not up on the PrizePicks board. Desmond Bane, not up on the PrizePicks board. So I think this is done intentionally. Maybe you're looking to fire up a little same game parlay, taking Kyrie and Desmond Bane for some 3-point makes. I mean, we could look at the matchup for both of those guys. Kyrie going up against Memphis. Memphis has given up 3.3 3-point makes in the last 15 games. We look at the shooting guard spot. Desmond Bane going up against Brooklyn. Brooklyn's given up about 3.3 3-point makes to shooting guards. So 3+ threes allowed for Kyrie's position at point guard by Memphis, and for Bane's position at shooting guard by Brooklyn. And I'll just pull up a projection for both of those guys for you. Kyrie's projection, 2.8 3-point makes. He's a huge betting favorite, minus 165, minus 160 to cover. So the public loving Kyrie. Desmond Bane at 2.5 3-point makes. Another guy who's being bet over like crazy, minus 155. And he's projected for 3-point makes. So maybe that's why we're not getting him on the board. The public is just smashing the heck out of the over. Kyle, you're asking about Saddiq Bey. Saddiq Bey's not up on the PrizePicks board. I don't know if we're going to get him up on the board, but Saddiq's going against Atlanta tonight. Bey typically slots in at that small forward position. The Hawks, as far as three-pointers allowed to small forwards, 2.5 roughly, 2.43 to be exact, to small forwards in the last 15 games. And then I've got Bey projected for 2.6. The public at 2.5, smashing the over. Smashing the over. Yeah, Kyrie birthday game. Everybody's talking Kyrie birthday. He's going to blow out the candles, right? He's going to blow out the candles on all his props. He's going to smash them over. Yeah, we've talked about Jalen Green's points as well, Mr. GOAT. I think Jalen Green at 15.5 points and his assists and his PRA should all be ones that we take a look at. My man Kappa here, we're going to call him all Kappa, all capital letters, that is. He is really, really shouting it from the rooftops, from the mountaintops, that Royce O'Neal over 1.5 3-point makes is the move tonight. So let's take a look at Royce, the 5'9" O'Neal here. Utah Jazz, 1.5 3-point makes. He's covered this in 6 out of 10 games. 6 out of 10. Let's look at the season view. Let's remove Bogdanovich and see what happens here with Royce O'Neal. At 1.5 3-point makes, he's played 6 games without Bogdanovich this season. He's at a 50% hit rate. It's not great. It's not the greatest looking hit rates in the world. Let's see if he shoots it better on the road. On the road without Bogdanovich, he's went 1 for 3. Just a 33% hit rate. At home, without Bogdanovich, 2 for 3. But he's on the road tonight, so the hit rate's not looking great. Let's put Bogdanovich back in the mix and just look at his hit rates for the season. 55% hit rate on the road. 37% hit rate at home. So he does shoot it better on the road typically than he does at home. And again, he is on the road tonight going up against Boston. But the defensive matchup here, not looking very good. Boston 9th ranked in three-pointers allowed, 1st ranked in 3-point field goal percentage allowed, and the 1st ranked team against opposing small forwards. So matchup-wise, kind of looking tough for Royce O'Neal. We go look at the last 15 games, three-pointers allowed by the Boston Celtics to small forwards. They're giving up about 2.8. He does need to knock down 2. Needs to knock down 2. So the matchup, as far as three-pointers allowed by the Celtics, not looking so bad. Not looking the worst. I got Royce projected for 1.7. He is a betting favorite at minus 135 to go over 1.5. So Kappa saying the ball is going to be forced out of Donovan Mitchell's hands. So maybe you want to take the over on Donovan Mitchell's assists instead of his points. So there you go. You know, something to consider. Appreciate you leaving that one for us to look into, Mr. Kappa. Yeah, we liked Porter again for points and assists. We liked Wood for rebounds. Those were definitely ones that we talked about. Wayne's World dropping some news. You're saying Tyreek Hill is now with the Miami Dolphins? Is that for real? I need to check with my man Adam Schefter on that. Tyreek Hill's to the Dolphins? I know this is NBA, but man, Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins? Are you for real? Let me know, guys. Can anyone confirm? Wow. That is breaking news. Anyway, free throw makes, you know how I feel about these guys. We're looking for the ones who are going to have the basketball in their hands. Guys like Trae Young, who hit his free throw prop last night easily with 12 against the Knicks. He's hitting 4 out of his last 5. Maybe you look at some Trae Young, high usage guy. He's going to get to the free throw line. He's going to make his free throws most of the time. Cade Cunningham, another high usage guy. Last 5 games for him has hit 3 or more in 80% of his games. So he looks like a good possible over spot. Devin Booker, we know he's going to have the basketball in his hands. Hopefully he's aggressive. We need him to be aggressive and not sit out there and shoot jump shots. So if Booker's aggressive, he gets to the line, he makes them at a high clip. And then you got DeAndre Ayton, who's been a pretty focal point of the offense as well. But for me, I'd probably say that I'd like Booker more than Ayton. Anyway, blocks and steals. We could take a look at some blocks and steals real quick. We'll make this short and sweet and then get you guys out of here so you can go lock in some entries, your favorite plays over on PrizePicks. As far as the guys who are hitting at a high clip, Terry Rozier, 80% hit rate. I'll pull a projection up for you on some of these guys. We'll make this portion short and sweet. Rozier projected for 1.7, but the public betting the under. They're taking the under on Rozier at 1.5. But he has the highest hit rate of everyone on today's board at 80%. Other guys to consider. I know that Kyrie typically does a pretty good job. As you can see, 5 out of his last 5 at covering his 1.5 steals and blocks. So Kyrie's always getting his hands on the basketball. We could pull a projection up for you on Kyrie Irving. He's projected for 2.1 steals and blocks. And the public taking the over on Kyrie at minus 130 odds to go over. So Kyrie should definitely be considered for steals and blocks. Who else we got up here today? Any of these other guys standing out? Devin Booker, pretty decent hit rate for him, 70%. We could get you a projection. Last 10 for Booker, 7 out of 10. Booker's projection today, 1.7. So he's also a betting favorite to go over his steals and blocks. So you can go there. Pretty nice hit rates for him. So those are probably like your top 3 options just in terms of hit rates. They're all being projected to go over. They're all being bet over by the public. And then double doubles. The only way you should ever be playing double doubles is if you get a rebound prop on DeAndre Ayton at like 10 or 10.5, or you get a rebound prop on Christian Wood at like 10 or 10.5. So let's check into both of those. If either one of these guys are at 10 or 10.5 rebounds or higher, then we take the double-double. Otherwise, we just take the rebounds if you want to play an over on DeAndre Ayton. So, yeah, I wouldn't take the double-double for Ayton. He's most likely going to easily score 10 points, so then you would just need to hit the rebounds. So you can mitigate some risk. Just take the rebounds if you want to play DeAndre Ayton. And then Christian Wood, I think, was already at 9.5 rebounds. So don't even bother touching the double-doubles for either one of these guys. There's a chance that maybe they end up with 9 points. It's a slim chance. It's probably not a high likelihood that these guys end up with 9 points and 10 boards. But like I said, you can save yourself some risk. Just take the rebounds if you want to play the overs. No need to take the double-doubles on these guys. They're both at 9.5 rebounds. So they'll need at least 10 boards to hit the double-double or just the rebounds on their own. So that's going to be it, guys. Hour and 38 minutes in. Huge slate. Hopefully that, you guys found some value. If you did, slap that like button. I continue to get on here. I try to help as many of you as possible, as many props as I can cover here in an hour and a half or so. So hopefully you appreciate me jumping on here, doing what I do for you. If you do, the best way you can show your thanks is slapping the like button on your way out. All right, gang? Otherwise, let's continue the conversation in the comment section below or in Discord. If you're not in Discord yet, there's a link down in the description below of this video. I'm giving out free entries on Fridays, every single Friday inside Discord. All you have to do is just be in Discord. Just be a part of the Discord. That's it. You could get signed up to win one of those free entries on PrizePicks to win $100. It's a 2-pick play for $100. So more free entries and cool stuff coming inside Discord. Appreciate all your support, guys. Thanks again for being here, rocking with me. Good luck to everybody. And if you're in Patreon, I'll see you very, very soon. Peace.